Now, we talked about trust. Here's a little bit more on the topic. I happen to think, I'm going to show you this picture for just a second, then we're going to come back to this slide. This is one example. It's called the ABCD trust model. And there are different aspects by which we build trust. First of all, parents want to know, are we capable? Right? Do we know our stuff? Do we get results? Are we able to manage the classroom? Right? The first thing you hear sometimes when a parent is called because the child is being rowdy, in the parent's mind, they're thinking to themselves, well, why is that happening? I never got this problem before, or something like this. And they're automatically thinking, maybe it's on the teacher. So it's important that we have the ability to demonstrate capacity. Second item, believability, right? Keeping confidence is very important. Never, never, never talk about another child to a different child's parents. In other words, never say, oh, by the way, you could say your child is not the only one. That kind of statement, I think, is okay, if you feel you need to do that. But I would never, ever discuss another child, even if the parent wants to raise that child with you. Now, if that child is, let's say, allegedly bullying, or something like this, then of course you need that information. But on your end, you want to try your best to preserve confidences, because if you don't, then typically parents will think, well, if she talks about so-and-so's kid with me, then she probably talks about my kid with somebody else. And so you break down the trust in that way. All right? Connected, we talked about being a good listener, asking for input, demonstrating care. Right? I saw that your child didn't look his regular self today. What's going on? You know, is there anything at home I should know about? And dependable. And this one is really important. So important. Right? If you commit to something, it's got to be followed through. Right? Oftentimes teachers will agree to something. Let's say we'll send home a monthly report, a weekly report, a daily, even if it's something as simple as a smiley chart or something similar to that, where all they got to do is circle a couple of things. Teachers have a lot on their plate. You know, I don't want you to feel in any way like I haven't sat in this desk, but I've sat in your seat in various forms. And I certainly know that when you're dealing with all of your responsibilities, it's hard to then do more, something as regular as this.
Can you say more about your second half of Believable?
In just a moment. But just on the point, if I may for a second, on dependable. If we do make a commitment, we do want to make sure that we follow through. And so be careful when you make a commitment and asking yourself, is this something that I can commit to? And if not, can you at least scale back a little bit so that you're doing something without necessarily putting a burden on you that's unrealistic and likely to fail? Because that'll be worse than never committing, I think, from the outset. Second half of Believable.
Yeah, you're right, to be willing to admit error or lack of knowledge.
Yeah, yeah.
Talk a little bit more about that. The teacher should admit that the teacher didn't.
Well, sometimes we make mistakes. It does happen, and we have to be able to admit it when that happens. Now, that doesn't mean because a parent accused us of making the mistake we did. But if there are ways by which a parent will see, you know, he doesn't claim to be infallible. He recognizes that he made a mistake over here, or at least is willing to hear another perspective on the matter. That can also build trust. Okay? Lack of knowledge means sometimes you just didn't know. Either, you know, with a kid, there's nothing wrong with telling a child, you know, I don't know the answer to that question. Oftentimes we feel as teachers we have to have all the answers, and we don't. I think we should be willing to go and find out the answer if we can, but when it comes to parents, sometimes you just don't have all the information. We don't know about the child, we don't know necessarily the history, the circumstance, and so being willing to admit that I didn't know everything instead of trying to always be right.